Actually get to see Kristina.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anu Koivunen. I'm the Executive Director of Love and Anarchy Film Festival and Season Film Festival, which is the partnering film festival of this seminar. Gender equality is at the core of both Love and Anarchy and Season Film Festival, so we are very happy and proud to partner with WIFT on this seminar. And thank you all panelists for being here. And we're very much looking forward to a really good discussion on this important subject. So please, go ahead.
Kiitos. Mun nimeni on Kaunapunkki ja mä edustan Women Film Television Finlandia, joka on yksi järjestäjistä. Tämän tilaisuuden tarkoitus on nimenomaan, että me halusimme kutsua nimenomaan pohjoismaiset vieraat, että voisimme edistää tätä suomalaista tasa-arvokeskustelua ja auttaa meitä myös määrittämään keinoja, millä lailla tätä voitaisiin meilläkin edistää. Mä haluan kiittää meidän yhteistyökumppaneita, ensinnäkin järjestäjä WIFT Nordicia ja Season Film Festivalia tämän tilaisuuden mahdollistamisesta ja sitten myös tietenkin lunttaan Suomen näytelmäkirjoittajat ja käsikirjoittajat ry:tä, Suomen elokuvaohjaaja, jaha täällä onkin, kato. On niin pitkiä nimiä, niin nämä menee tälle. Suomen elokuvaohjaajaliittoa Seloa sekä Suomen elokuva- ja mediatyöntekijät ry:tä. Lisäksi haluan kiittää meidän rahoittajia Svenska Kulturfonden ja Pohjoismaista kulttuuripistettä. Tämä tilaisuus on mahdollista katsoa tuolta netistä ja tässä tilaisuudessa on mahdollista yleisöllä myös esittää kysymyksiä. Anu Koivunen, meidän moderaattori, kertoo siitä sitten lisää. Ja kysymyksiä voi esittää myös suomeksi, jos ei halua englanniksi, ja sitten käännetään se sitten. Ja keskusteluhan käydään englanniksi ja tästä lisää nyt Jenni Koski WIFT Nordicista.
Welcome. I'm going to translate this in short in English. We are here to talk about gender equality in the audiovisual industries, and we have all the guests from the Nordic countries, from the decision makers from film institutes, here to discuss if there is a Nordic model and how they dealt with the gender equality issues in their own countries. And we would also like to thank our sponsors in this event, Filmkino, Selo, Association of Finnish Film Directors, Finnish Playwrights and Screenwriters Guild, and the Union of Film and Media Employees in Finland. And I also especially want to thank you, my WIFT Nordic colleagues from all the Nordic countries. And here, the stage Anu, our moderator.
Thank you, and welcome all to this highly important discussion. We have 6 eminent panelists from all the Nordic countries, so this is a major opportunity for us to address issues that we often discuss in rather vague terms, referring to lots of assumptions about what is done elsewhere. Now, we have an opportunity to actually hear what is being done and what is going to be done in Finland and in other Nordic countries. So warmly welcome panelists on my left, Lasse Saarinen, CEO of Finnish Film Foundation, Silje Riise Næss, Film Commissioner from Norwegian Film Institute, Dorthe Rasmussen, Head of Secretariat from the Danish Film Institute, Kristina Börjeson, Head of Film Funding of Swedish Film Institute, Petri Kemppinen, CEO of Nordisk Film Fond, and finally Laufey Guðjónsdóttir, Head of Icelandic Film Center. And we've asked the panelists to use 3 minutes, and I'm going to be very strict about the time, 3-minute presentations of your own organization and its gender equality plan. So we want to have some kind of introduction about the action plan you are implementing or measures you are taking towards reaching gender equality. And I ask Lasse to begin.
I'm quite short, I must say. Thank you. The Finnish Film Foundation uses about 24 million euros for production support, distribution and international promotion per year. And of that 24 million, the share of production support is about 21 million. And in our house we have 25 employees, and of which 60% are women. And about myself, I gladly can tell you that during my 31 years as a producer, before I became a CEO here, I produced 78 films, of which 40 were by women directors. Organizers of this event asked some questions for us before for this opening, and they asked also if we measure gender equality by research and statistics. And the answer is yes, we do and have done so at least last 6 years. And last 3 years we have had special statistics project which has been funded by our cultural ministry. It ends in October, and we have not yet sure if the funding continues. But if the ministry decides to fund this very important part of our work still for the future years, we can even broaden our research. We have plans for that, but right now we just don't have means for it. But the statistics show that the women's share of our positive decisions is greater than their share of applications. But all in all, their share varies between 27 and 44% of all positive decisions. And that is not good, of course. And we are constantly thinking in our house, or trying to find ways to encourage women to apply more from us. And it's because it is if the application from women filmmakers is about 1/3 of all the applications, that of course that of course is we see the same relation, almost same relation in the positive decisions. In Film Foundation, we of course realized the need to keep in mind the equality between applicants and applications. But on the other hand, we are also very well aware that in a small country with very limited production output, we must try to find the best possible projects for the future films. We just can't afford to think otherwise. Organizers also asked if Film Foundation would be interested in an idea of distributing our money 50-50 between genders. I can only say that we do not believe in quotas of any kind when we are dealing with the content production. I was also asked if our institute had had any gender equality projects in the past. As I have been a director only last 8 months,
30 seconds.
Yes. Oh, I had to ask for what have happened before, and my predecessor, Irina Kruun, who was director last 10 years, he had not initiated any such projects. And there was also there's also a question if we would be interested in working towards mutual Nordic goals for gender equality, and could there be the Nordic example for reaching gender equality? Generally, I think that the Nordic countries are already a fine example of equality as such, and also gender equality compared to the world outside. But that does not rule out that mutual statements are possible and even desirable. Thanks.
So I'm going to be very strict with all of you. I would want to say that if you tweet, so please use the hashtag genderstruck on Twitter. That would be very good, so anybody following this discussion you can also, of course, participate through that. Next one. Yes, please, Silje.
So my name is Silje Riise Næss. I'm a commissioning editor for feature film and drama series at the Norwegian Film Institute, and I'm also part of the group that planned and launched our new gender equality plan in June last year. This gender equality plan has a goal of 40% representation of women in all of Norwegian film projects in all of Norwegian film industry, which is different from the films that are actually supported by the Institute, because we also have an independent film production and we also have a market scheme that has different mechanisms than the commissioners. I can return to explaining that a bit, but this goal is 40%, but in an ideal world, it would be 50-50, wouldn't it? And when we look back at our previous action plan from 2007, those plans have many similarities, and they are so alike because we haven't really reached our goals completely. Although when you look at a global scale, Norway is a country that has had a very high focus on gender balance, not only in film and culture politics, but in politics and society as a whole. And we are used to we both have traditions and regulations for thinking in terms of quotas, both in education, in work life, and in culture, of course. And what happened in 2007 was that we got a new red-green government with really high hopes and a lot of means to make contemporary culture more blossoming and more interesting in Norway. And the Film Institute really followed through on that, and we have better numbers year by year, which means when you look at the work that we do with pre-support, we, the commissioners, the projects that we support, although the application mass is about the same as you're saying, 1/3 of the applications we receive are from women, which makes 70, maybe 80% in some cases of the applications come from men. Even though we have this to begin with, the support for projects have gone some years up to 50, 65% even from the commissioners go to projects with female involved in them. And our simple explanation is that there are many good applications from women. But when you look at the whole industry and the market scheme, where only the audience estimates and the financing plan are taken into consideration, then you have a very male-dominated reality. So all in all, our best year has been 35% female filmmakers. Those are the key functions that we count: directors, screenwriters, and producers, naturally. And it varies a lot. I don't know how it's here in Finland, but I've seen many numbers all over Europe that there are a bit more female producers than there are directors, for instance. And these are things that we have observed, and we're trying to make some incentives or some environments where we can change that. So we also have a talent scheme that has been running for 10 years' time in all formats, including feature films. This talent scheme, where we focus on experimental projects or just really good thought through special projects that will be difficult to finance in the market. We have always had a 50-50 gender balance in this program, and for the past few years I've experienced that I often, if I do use a quota, it is to actually put some men on the shortlist. And I think this has got something to do with creating an environment where we are interested in your film project. You can come to this arrangement that we call New Ways, Nye Veier in Norwegian, with your projects. And these films, they perform no lesser than the films made by men. I just have to underline this, that the thought that there must be some genius that you miss if you give money to female filmmakers, that's just a falsity. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Dorothy, and we will have some slides. We have a problem with the mic, so...
Yeah, that's okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dorte Rasmussen. I'm head of Secretariat at the Danish Film Institute. Daily word for DFI. DFI is Denmark's national agency for film and cinema culture. We support development, production, distribution of films, and run the national archives. Yeah, you can go a bit further. Yeah, super. I would like to introduce you briefly in the way we do diversity in general. We gather and share knowledge about diversity in Danish film and ensure dialogue with the film industry and the key players. We create common diversity targets, both for the Danish Film Institute and the organization, the education and the industry players, and develop practices for diversity. Could you shift, please? Yeah, thank you. Also, when it comes to gender, we join forces with the Danish film industry. Also here we focus on the data, the analysis, dialogues, and awareness, and actions. Last spring, we collected a lot of lovely numbers in a study on gender. We took the numbers from behind the camera, on screen, among the audience, but we also took numbers from decision makers, the film school, and the film critics. On top of the report, with all the numbers, we did a huge effort to onboard the main actors of the audiovisual sector in improving gender balance. We made action groups, workshops, debates, lots of different activities. As a result, we now share ambitions with the film industry, and we express the ambition in a manifest. We have common objectives of improving gender balance in Danish film. The 3 cornerstones are a permanent dialogue forum, and that all the division of the Danish Film Institute incorporate and prioritize efforts to support the objectives, and that we continue to monitor and report on gender balance in our annual statements. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, do you have a mic with functioning? No, that won't function. So, Kristina Börjeson, please. Sweden.
Thank you. My name is Kristina Börjeson. I'm head of film funding at the Swedish Film Institute. And I would like to start to just present to you what we have done. I think later on we might talk about what we are going to do. But as you might know, we've been working on the gender equality issue for quite some time. We now, since 5 years, a little bit more, have a CEO, Anna Särner, who is dealing a lot with this question. But also before her, there were work being done on this question. But since 2011, when she started, there has been a big focus on this. And in 2013, we made our first action plan, and it consisted of 5 assumptions, some prejudiced assumptions, you could say, that we, in a provoking way, found out ourselves, just to be able to answer those assumptions with an action. And the first one was, there are very few competent female filmmakers. Okay, I guess not. So we put together a site, together with, I think Anu Koivunen has been involved in Nordic Women in Film, which is a website, and I strongly recommend you to visit it. It shows female filmmakers, producers, directors, scriptwriters, DOPs, and editors during history. And I can assure you there are a lot of female competent filmmakers, and has been and still is and will be. Next assumption was women don't get to do their second and third film. And that's a difficult issue. So then we started a mentor program. And we asked 5 experienced female directors to be mentors to 5 more unexperienced directors. And this was a hard thing because the experienced ones were not very easy to convince to contribute to this, but finally they did. And they were in this program for almost 2 years. We haven't done it again, but there are also information on this to read. This was a hard thing to do, really. The third one is to count films by female and men does not lead to more equality. And then we started counting, and we introduced this to all our commissioners for short film, documentary, and feature. And by doing this and setting a goal that over time, the money, the decisions, not the money, because that's another issue, the decisions should be equally divided, men, women, 50-50. And over time, these last 4 years, now by the end of 2016, we have succeeded almost for directors, scriptwriters, and producers. The fourth one was there aren't as many young girls as guys who dream about becoming a director. And that's not true either. And then we applied for extra money from the government, and they gave us some. So we started a program which was spread around the country in the regions about young female filmmakers. And the fifth assumption was the will to change things is missing by those who have power. And yes, that's probably true, but it doesn't mean it can't be changed. And then we had a study made together with the Technical University in Stockholm, comparing the film industry with the steel industry to find the structures and compare, are they the same, what's the differences, how could we work on this. So this is what we have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristina. And next, Petri, Nordisk Film and Television Fond.
Okay, thank you. I have to say first that on a personal note, I of course yearn for equality, freedom of expression and diversity of voices. And gender equality is of course included in that yearning, and it's one of the aspects that I think are the very important goals in my personal life. Nordisk Film and TV Fund is a pan-Nordic funding body with a budget of about 10 million euros yearly. Our goal is to fund projects that can travel, that can cross Nordic and international borders. And we are as I said, we are a top funding entity, so the projects that come to apply for our funding have already received funding from national institutes, TV stations, international partners. So that's kind of our position in the value chain of funding. And in order to qualify, you need to have at least 2 of the Nordic countries involved in the distribution of the film or TV series or documentary. About 80% of our funding goes to fiction, 10% for documentaries, 8% for distribution, and 3% for film cultural initiatives. And we are prioritizing productions that are aimed at children and young people. Our guidelines are quite clear on conditions. I mean, we don't pose any special conditions regarding a common Nordic theme or demands in regards to the mix of the artistic or technical staff, and we don't take into consideration any national quotas like gender, for example. And that is because we are the last funder, and the aim is really to support projects that can cross borders. So we can't, that's the main emphasis for us. In terms of gender equality, the plan is that we collect and publish statistics of the key positions, meaning producer, director, and writer. We report them on to the board and in our annual report. We also report on the amounts applied for and granted, and to see if there is a difference between the genders. In our publications, like the annual report, we carefully look at the gender balance in the photographs. And gender is one of the aspects of the evaluation, in a way that, I mean, we look at the story content, of course. Of course, the distribution is more important, but the content is equally important, or not less or more important than any other issue. And this is something that I really am interested to discussing more, that how do we actually measure the stories and whose voices are heard. On the results, I think the statistics say that it's around 40-60, if you want to put it like that. But I mean, the interesting thing is that the things that we do by ourselves, we have two initiatives that are only kind of governed by us. They are Nordic Talents, which is an event for the students that graduate from the film schools in the Nordic countries. So there we get around 60% of the applications from female filmmakers, and also the selection is around 60-40 in favor of women. And the second initiative that's governed by us is the Nordic Genre Boost, which we had for 3 years now. There it's pretty much the same. It's about 55% of the applications are by female teams or female filmmakers, and the selection is the same. So in a way, I could interpret this that the younger generation is a bit more female biased than the older generation.
Thank you, Petri. And last one up is Laufey from Icelandic Film Center.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for arranging this. This is a very important platform. Nice to be here with Nordic colleagues and talk about it, hopefully openly. Iceland is the smallest of the small. We have, so our margins are also very small. We have about 6 million euros for funding, feature films, documentaries, short films, TV fiction. We have very limited money for anything else. We don't have any budgets for. Well, we promote films abroad, but we don't have any budgets for like talent camps or any special programs. We have on a yearly basis, we fund about 3, kind of give them like a full support, as we call it, which still is lower than you are used to here in the other Nordic countries. So there are 3 feature films made every year, and then a couple of minor co-productions or low-budget films on the side. We have on some of the issues that you have asked here in the preparation paper. I can say that we have, for the past probably, I didn't really count it, probably 9 or 10 years, we have made some statistics on the gender balance or imbalance rather, but not very thorough. But for the last couple of years we have done so. We opened all applications back to 2005 and counted for the 3 key positions in all categories, and applications versus success. We had a very good success rate for women. actually better than I even thought we had. But the main problem, our serious problem in Iceland, is that we get very few applications from women. This is, again, because we are in a very small margin. It happened so that for the last 2 years we had quite many, so the balance looks very nice. But now we don't see much for the next year, for example. So the bump is really up and down. I think we have also what makes it a little bit problematic is that our infrastructures are not very solid in other sides. I mean, we don't have any higher education in films, so it's not like we've noticed so well, for example, in the Danish film school, where people work together during their educational years and then they continue. So this is really the platform where you actually can create the balance, I think, and a healthy balance. So we don't have that yet. But on the happy side, we have more women now, Icelandic women seeking higher education abroad, and they are returning, and I think they are very active, and I have very high hopes for them. We had actually not until last year we had a minister or the Ministry of Culture, who was very open about these issues and wanted to do something, and he really took the discussion. He invited Anna Serner, and we had quite a good discussion on the gender imbalance. But so far, until now, it's only been words. Nothing has followed, because even though it's not that expensive, it costs a little bit. I think it would be really ideal to have something like you did in Sweden, have these camps all around the country, something like this. Okay.
Conclude.
Yeah. So it's really about not only words but also actions. And let's go on.
Thank you.
Are the mics working now? Okay, good. Thank you all for your introductory remarks. I would like to have just a brief sort of raising hands. Which organization has regular statistics work where gender equality is being indexed and followed up? Do all the... Yes, great. Which organizations and countries have goals, in percentage-wise goals for gender equality? Okay, so we have Sweden and Norway, and no other countries. So this might be one starting point for discussion, but
Could I add something about the difference between goals and quotas? I'm not sure if everyone are familiar with the term affirmative action. There is a variety of affirmative action called positive action, which is quite much used as a political tool in Norway. We call it moderat kvotering, which means that in the case of affirmative action, you will say that we are going to have 5 boys and 5 girls, for instance, in this master's degree. This is a concrete example from Norway, where you want to recruit boys into working as preschool teachers, for instance. Then you will say that we take 5 boys and 5 girls, regardless of their qualifications, as long as they qualify at a minimum. And then you have the other version, that if you have 2, you have a boy and a girl, and you find them equally qualified, you choose the boy because you want more male preschool teachers. And that is what we do at the Norwegian Film Institute, and we have been doing for 10 years, what we call positive action. That when you have created a short list of projects, when you find that they are equally interesting and good, then you will choose the project from the gender less represented. It could be a boy, could be a girl. In the film industry, it has always been the women that have been less represented. Just wanted to make that clear, that we don't have set quotas, but we work very much with positive action.
How does this differ from the Swedish approach?
We don't have quotas either. Anna Serner a little bit made a threat that we were not, we could possibly think about having quotas, and then we didn't. But it was just a little bit to get people on their feet and understand that we are going to to look at what you're doing. We are counting, but we are not using quotas either. It's 50-50 over time, and it's really important to understand that, because it's not year by year, it's not month by month, but it's keeping track on everything and doing it over time. It might change, like you say, and then you have a year like this, and then you can't consider it a bad year just because it's a year.
Yeah. There is ample evidence in equality policies, not only in the domain of culture, but elsewhere, that statistics is important, but following up the information is crucial, because just if you don't count, you think, you pretend, and you assume. But the other question is, of course, what you do with the numbers that you actually collect. You want to continue?
Because we have observed that is very important. We have had a chapter in our annual report for the past 10 years analyzing this and going through, for instance, the difference between the application mass and the mass of projects that you actually support. And what we see, the tendency is really, really clear that the number of women, like I was saying, will increase from the application mass and to the number of projects. And I think this experience, you see it several places, both in Sweden and with Nordic Film and Television Fund, that this happens. So I often get the questions, well, don't you get good enough applications from women? Or this is an insinuation that I used to hear. We are a bit past that point in Norway now, but I used to hear that a lot. And that's not the case. It's quite the opposite. We do get good applications from women. We don't get enough applications from women. And you can send some signals to change that won't make it necessary to impose quotas. And if I may just make one last example, we just sent a quite strong signal in our market scheme, because we just said we want to take the positive action approach that we've been using in the commissioning scheme over to the market scheme. So we're saying a female director equals 50,000 admissions in the theaters. It might sound radical, but the projects that we support in this market scheme, which is highly successful, they need to make like 400,000, 450,000 in an estimate to go through and have production support. So it's not that much compared to the number. We say this is quite moderate. And look at what's happening. This just happened in Norway, but you know, producers are really on their toes to recruit the right screenwriters and the right directors, and this is going to change our statistic drastically, and the quality in films and the kind of stories that we get, perhaps in a longer perspective. But the most important thing is that you have to think, am I hiring the screenwriter that I should hire on this project?
That's very interesting, because of quite a few of us in Finland were had difficulties with anger management when we heard the predecessor. What happened with my mic?
Try this one. Hello? This is working.
Stop working. Okay, when we heard Lasse's predecessor say in an interview last year that, well, Finnish film producers state that Finns don't want to watch films made by women. So this was quite a bigger scandal last year. So I will be a bit unfair then and ask Lasse to comment upon these suggestions made by Silje, for instance. Would something like that be possible in Finland? How do you see you were talking about how there is some statistics being done, but what I'm sort of asking is that what kind of action is actually planned beyond statistics?
Well, first I must say that I have been quite surprised that the Finnish Film Foundation have not made any statements according to this subject, not one. And that's because we know that Irina, the former CEO, was a feminist. I really don't understand why it has happened, but it's that probably will change, because although I'm personally, I think that only the best filmmakers should make the best films in Finland, from the best scripts. But that doesn't rule out that we really have to somehow encourage female filmmakers to start send us ideas, send us applications, because the difference is so big. We all know that in future years this will change, because most of the students in film school are female nowadays, as actually in all higher education in Finland. There's a female dominance in the students, and so of course that will change, but it's slow. It's quite slow, and I somehow I don't know how could I say it, but that is as a producer I somehow sensed that the female filmmakers are somehow shy to bring out their ideas, and that is I don't understand why, and we somehow have to change that, and we have to, as I said, encourage people to come to us, and but in that case we are very happy to, right now we are seeing that there are a lot of new very good, very efficient female producers in Finland, which should help the situation in the future also.
Kristina, do you have some hints or tips for the Finnish Film Foundation?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment a little bit on how we use the statistics, and it's also difficult, I guess, because we have our decision meetings every month for production decisions, and some of you don't have it that often. And this is quite, and it has been like that for many years, and it's a big help, because that means, and in every, I mean, not maybe during summer, but I think we have 10 meetings during the year. And at every meeting, the commissioners are there, they are presenting their projects, and you get the absolute new statistics during the meeting, and what percentage for the three main roles. So this means, this is one piece that I think actually helps, because you get reminded all the time. And another thing is, of course, what commissioners you recruit, what people are going to do this job in the room where they meet the film business. And that's one thing, and then it comes to the whole organization. Well, how do you talk about equality in your organization? And what is the sort of the feeling, what you get when you come inside? What do you see? What pictures, like you said, what do you have in your publications? What are the posters? What are the stills in our coffee room? The photos from old films or from new films? Are those men? Are those white men? What actually are the signals? But I think when it comes to this, really, what's happening in the room with the commissioner, it's a big thing to recruit persons who are able to understand that they are not doing this on a personal basis. They are doing this, I mean, for us now, we are totally state-funded, and we have goals, and we are not doing it because we think it's fun. We're doing it because we have goals to reach. And so this is really a big issue. And it seems like a sort of little bit stupid, easy thing to say, but it's not.
May I ask you to comment because this question that always keeps coming up is this, that, okay, we actually want to make good films, best films, the quality issue, that you already touched upon it, Kristina, how in Sweden there's been a conscious sort of countering this argument. But this is a general discussion, and so much of this centers around that. So shall we begin with Laufey? You asked for the microphone anyway, so would you like to start by commenting on this, how to... I think it's unnecessary to say that. I assume that you all want to make good films. You all want to produce good films. That's self-evident. But beyond that, how to deal with the quality issue?
I haven't experienced a problem there. I mean, the projects that we have granted to women have definitely been good and good enough, and totally approvable. I just wanted to add to this our former point of discussion that we have in Iceland. We have already in our application schemes, we have taken all the key points, and you have to, in the application, you have to put them in male, female, and upon completion with, and we take it as seriously as a budget. You have to deliver our final results, and how was the balance actually. So it's, we take it very serious in that way, and we also have, because now we have it written in our regulation, so we can actually ask for formal evaluation. It's included in the formal evaluation of our consultants as well. We're also working on trying to encourage producers to work with women and get them out of the shadow, or as Lasse mentioned, by granting female hire, so that they will get, we don't know exactly how much more now, but maybe 10 or 20% more than men, because we all know that not only in the films but also in the finance war, the whole world of finance, banking and so on, women are not taking as seriously as men. So we want to try and support them in that sense. But the quality issue is not, I've never experienced a problem. I mean, we are softer on the formal conditions, like for example, if a young man applies for a support for a short film and he's never made a short film, we say go and try it at home and come for your second film here or third or whatever. We will not say this to a woman. So we can be more soft on the formalities, but we're not softer on qualities, I think.
Let me just say that after this round, there will be mic for audience questions, but let's do this round first. And so think about the questions. Yeah. Petri.
Thank you. I also, agree with Laufey that it's not a quality issue. At least not for us. I think the main discussions that we have with projects that do not get our funding, and we get around 100 applications for production funding a year, and we support around 55 maybe. And the discussions with the rejected ones, they don't really, deal with gender. They deal with the possibilities of this project going cross borders, and usually, it could be a first film, or it could be, a slightly national film. So I don't think that gender is an issue. I don't think so. And of course, we are talking a lot about the distribution, and that's kind of, I think that might be one element in this discussion of content. That could be actually addressed more often. What is the audience? Where is the audience? And I'm not talking only about the big audiences that are, of course, the dearest to us. But we also have a possibility of supporting smaller art house films. But they really need to have the distribution in the countries confirmed, and they really need to be able to travel. They really need to have their audience also outside of the home country, and. That's I think one aspect that could be discussed more in the gender issue as well. And then the second thing that I want to say is also about the monies, because we do monitor it a bit, and I see that projects that have female staff, producer, director, writer, do apply for slightly smaller amounts than the male projects. And especially this is the case with documentary films, which surprises me, because documentary films traditionally are more female driven. In TV drama, there is no big difference between if the project is guided by females or males. Documentaries, there is quite a big difference, and in feature films it's quite equal but slightly dominant towards the male projects. And then one more thing that I wanted to add into the gender discussion as well, that actually quite many of the projects nowadays that apply for our support do have both male and female producers. They might even have male and female writers. So there are actually, I would say that 25% of the projects do have both genders in one of the three key positions. So that's also interesting. So there is some kind of collaboration between the sexes, which is nice.
Yes, a little bit on quality. What we have seen now during the last 3 or 4 years, we have goals when it comes to when it comes going to festivals abroad, and we have seen that when rising the amount of production decisions for the female, we have also they are now more represented than men when it comes to foreign festivals. And which is a sign that the films they make are handling subjects that are obviously relevant for people all around the world. The last 3 years for our national Oscar, Guldbaggen, it has been female directors, producers. It's on the 3 most important prizes. So this is it's an answer. It's an easy answer, and it's also about counting. Putting up goals and counting.
In the discussion and debates we had with the film industry, it also came up there, the question about the quality, and has men become the norm for quality? And there's a hope in the film industry that bringing more female in, bringing more women in the industry will make some creative, like a creative energizer, perhaps also an economic energizer to the film industry. And I can add to that about the statistic and the actions that we try to make everybody in the film industry and the producers, when they apply for funding, to make kind of self-declaration about how many men and how many women is onboarded in each film project. Yeah, thank you.
I'd just like to start by saying that I'm very much inspired by the debate that you initiated in Denmark and the analysis and reports and discussions that you are having at the moment in the Danish industry regarding, for instance, our prejudice about what is quality. So look to Denmark if you want to really reflect upon these issues. But you wanted a counter-argument. You wanted a counter-argument to those who insinuate that using quotas will lead to a decrease in quality.
Compromise.
Yeah. Well, take the most famous film stars you have in your countries, the male ones who are dominating on screen. Think of those you see on your theater stages, the men, the actors. Has anyone ever told you that, well, you know, you can't really trust his abilities? He's not really, you know, he was part of a quota. Because in all theater and stage schools that I know in the Nordic countries and in Europe, they use quotas for recruiting male actors because there are so many more young girls who want to become actors than there are boys. And I know at theater school in Oslo, they very actively recruit boys to be able to get 4-4. I never heard a complaint ever that our male actors are not good enough because they're a result of a quota. I personally, I'm in favor of using quotas as a political tool, although the cultural sector in Norway is not using it almost at all. But I just want to make, it's like, it's prejudice saying that it's going to result in this and that, and then you have to doubt the artistic result from these women because they were chosen, they were prioritized because of their gender. This happens in theater schools, and I never heard anyone say anything bad about male actors because of that. So that was just one small example for you. But I'm also interested in what you're mentioning about the amount, Petri, that projects with women involved apply for, and the kind of projects that women are traditionally involved in. And also, if you look at Eurimars support, which is a European co-production fund, where of course, a few of the projects that gets funded from there have women in them. It's like around 20-30%. But in their last round, if you look at it, the amount that was awarded was the same as the amount applied for in all the projects with women involved. And this is not just by accident. This is because many places in Europe and in many institutions, one are looking at how can we facilitate things better for female filmmakers. And if I may make one last point, when I came into the film industry some 20 years ago, I met this female producer who's been kind of a guiding star for me. She was basically the only one. There was one junior producer or some women working in production companies taking care of practical things where you had the heads who were naturally men. And what I heard was, well, of course you wouldn't find female film producer because you have to be so masculine, progressive, you have to be so persuasive. Of course it's difficult for women to venture into film production. That's what I heard. And look, today, the production environment, the producers in Norway, they are predominantly female. So it was a falsity as well. It's not necessarily, you can't really explain things rationally because they may not be true.
Yes, this is a very good speech, and I must say that when I'm talking about that we have to find the best possible talent, and then I'm talking against the quotas, I must say that I think exactly same way as does the chairperson of the WIFT Finland, Elina Knihtilä. She is the professor of our theatre school on acting, and she chooses the new students to the theatre school. And for years she has been chosen almost only female students because they are the best ones. They are the best of the applicants. And she has not thought about should there be some kind of gender equality because she wants the best ones. And I agree with her.
So then I just have to, then someone has to start writing really interesting female characters because there's an overweight of interesting male characters, isn't there? So, but I'm really interested to hear that because in Norway it's always been 4-4. You always need 4 boys and 4 girls. So that's an interesting approach.
This of course the whole conception of the field and how you get to the field and how recruitment is being done. That's one big discussion. Who are the players in the field, and then the other question is how decisions get made about funding and actual productions of both theatre productions and what's on the stage, what's on television, what's on screen. So in addition to the one that Petri also took up, this question of discussing content, which we haven't actually discussed at all yet. So we have several intertwining debates, but this quality issue keeps coming up as a kind of as a comment that most often is foreclosing further debate. It operates as this kind of gesture that makes the gender issue somehow irrelevant or difficult to discuss in the field of culture, and that's why it's really interesting to hear about all initiatives that actually demystify or try to open up the notion of quality. Talking about the role of the commissioner, what kind of commissioning is being done, and what kind of cooperation between commissioners there is in order to sort of open it up and not to treat it as a kind of mystical thing that then gets violated when related to statistics or goals, because there are lots of goals for all cultural production today, given that there is so much project money that needs to be applied with goals and reported with deliverances, or what do you deliver for the money. So all the production is done with so much counting, but the discussion about the productions tends to be very, very vague. Okay, so now I turn to the audience. I'm rather blinded by the big lights, but are there questions at this moment or comments? Who would? Yeah, thank you. No, I thought there was a question over there. There's just deep silence. Because what I would... do you need more time? Okay, there.
Well, let's just start discussion. So I had in mind the idea that when you said that in Finland the situation will get better because we have so much more female students in the film school. And I guess there is some kind of study that actually shows that something happens, that no matter how many female students you have in the film school, something happens and they vanish after school, and the majority of applications comes from young guys. So I guess there is something that happens there after school even. And maybe the networking that happens between the guys, and I can see many from my film school years, I'm a director myself, I can see working teams at the moment from guys that they already made at film school, or that they started to make short films with professional producers after school, male producers, and they kind of nurture the young boys in these companies. But I don't see that line happening between women, young women students after school.
We have a second question over there. Let me just say that is, of course, one of the, again, an aspect that is not peculiar only to film production. That is a general kind of gender equality and recruitment issue, like within academia. Majority of students or graduates are female, and then there are 30% of professors are women. So there is a similar kind of discrepancy there. But
can I just comment on it a little? Yeah, shortly, because there is a study made by the EVA, European Women's Audiovisual Network, which was presented in 2013, I think, which is a study made on 7 European countries. It's quite long, but you could read maybe only the first 8 pages, because there you get the results and their ideas and suggestions. And one of those is actually a little bit connected to what you're saying, and also the problem that we saw that women have difficulties doing their second, of course maybe sometimes also the first, but when they want to do the second and the third, what to do. So one of their suggestions is to actually for the production budgets, be able to include taking care of children in a way, helping to create possibilities to parents, women probably mostly, but maybe also male. So it's a question about structure, and it's this glass ceiling that you touch all the time.
Let's take the second question, and then Dorte and Silje.
Yes, thank you. My name is Anna-Maria Joakimsdóttir Hutri, and I'm a director here in Finland. I have not made my first film yet, lots of short films and TV drama. I'm of course looking for a chance. What Mari touched was maybe one of those important questions, is what are the carrots that you as decision makers want to give to the production industry, or like the production companies, that would motivate them to nurture and create structures that would somehow make an environment for a woman worker somehow possible, in the sense of like what you Kristina, sorry, talked about, that there are certain structures as a worker that I would need, and it just has made it's very time consuming, and it's very energy consuming, and it just there are some structures that I would have needed maybe created much better, so that I could go forward to develop my projects. So, what are the actions for what are the carrots? And I would say that maybe Laufey touched one kind of carrot is to have a little bit more like money or percentage. That's a very good carrot. But what other carrots would there be if quotation is like a sickening and a difficult issue? But what? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorte.
After making all the monitoring, all the numbers, we also illuminate the relationships between the data. And one of the qualitative analyses we started up is to see what happened with the female directors who finished the film school but never make their first movie. And we do the analysis together with the Danish directors. And when we invest money in giving people a film education, that costs an awful lot of money. So that is also bad an investment if there don't come any products afterwards. In a way, you could imagine that the film institutes, the fundings, they reserved an amount of funding for every Finnish director from the film school to make a debut film in some way. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Silje.
Many things. It's very important to point out that yes, there is a problem that female film students don't go on to make feature films to the same extent as male film students do. And that is one of the most negative observations that we have made in our statistic material that we use quite actively now, is that what we see is that the number of applicants for our script development scheme, the number of women it's decreasing. It's really crazy, because at some point we used to have 50-50 in the script development phase, and then I had a predecessor many years ago as a film commissioner who decided to support 24 projects directed by men and 1 project directed by women. And he made an argument about some artistic genius or something. At the same time, the number of women and men in the script development program was equal. So I'm not quite sure that you can explain everything by artistic genius. Probably there are some structural problems and some prejudice involved as well. But this isn't getting very much better in Norway, actually. I'm happy to hear from many countries that there are many female film students. We don't see exactly the same in Norway, and that's why, in addition to our annual report this year, we will publish our own report on gender balance statistics, and we will also go into the numbers of how many girls apply for film school and how many boys apply for film school, because we know from the committees that there are substantially fewer applications from women, actually, and there are also substantially fewer that will seek script development support at the Film Institute, and then this problem will just increase, and that is why part of our new gender balance plan is to have not a goal of 40% in script development and talent scheme, but a goal of 50%. So in development, I have now, among the 20 projects that I have in development, the percentage of women are close to 60%. And I need that to be able to cultivate good projects for production support later. And also, we had a dip. It went down. And one of the reasons are political, because we got a cultural minister some years back who said, I don't care, basically. I'm a woman, and I kind of like the thought of gender balance, but I don't think we should use it as a political tool because I'm a conservative. And this dip, this change of mindset in the government, it just went straight into the film business. And I'm struggling with the after effects of that. And luckily, we had an agreement in Parliament last year that led to this new action plan. It did not come from the ministry. They actually they published their new film politics with no gender strategy at all, but they were voted down in full Parliament. So this is why we have this situation in Norway now. But through all this, the Film Institute continued their positive action approach.
This is, I think, really interesting how many different aspects are brought up here now, because now the whole question of political support or the sort of trickle-down logic of gender equality is one important aspect. And thinking about Finland, we currently are in a situation where it's very difficult politically to argue for gender equality. There's a lot of statements made about it, but the only and well, this is a personal opinion, but in my mind, the only sort of suggestion that would have political support would be to somehow identify a group, a genre of male films that is not funded enough, and that would get significant. That might be able. You might be able to get political support for that, but otherwise, gender equality as a political issue in Finland is pretty much dead at the moment. But that's one level only, because then there is the commissioner level, the film foundation level, the producers level, and the question of education, the question of labor market, how the labor market film production is structured, and how workers are treated, which is a distinct issue from political support or general climate. And then I just want to mention one more aspect, which is I think about the Nostradamus reports published at Gothenburg Film Festival, which are about foresight, what's going to happen in the market. And there's a rather strong emphasis on diversity, diversity including gender diversity being a big market issue. So it's the kind of, if politicians fail us, perhaps market will save us. If politicians fail, market might save, I think would be one sort of conclusion that you might draw from Nostradamus report. But Kristina wants to have a comment, and then I look out for
I have
more
some
audience
comments. I think you didn't get a lot of carrots, unfortunately, but started to thinking about carrots. Actually, what I get back to is the education for the business. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we had this program the study that was made at the university, with the technical university in Stockholm, comparing the film business and the steel industry. And the thing was, it was not only people from the film institute, from the film side. It was, of course, people from the business. And those who went through this study, it was going on for 1 year. There were a couple of people coming from rather big production companies, and they learned a lot. They started to think in other ways. They actually got a huge education from being part of that program. And we also have in our action plan, which has not been introduced yet, is actually to have a short, couple of hours, short education for producers, the companies mostly, or producers, receiving production support from us to come and get some education, because we can actually acquire that from people. And in Sweden, the political issue, it's not a problem. We are this government is just have introduced a new body, a new what is that? For equality, which is going to be built up in Gothenburg. So it's in Sweden, it's not a difficult thing to get the support, but still to get it out in the business, of course.
Yes. Hi, I'm Saara Saarela. I'm a director here in Finland, and also the chair of SELO, the Finnish Film Directors Association. And we just made our sort of members list yesterday, and we have sort of active, or SELO represents most of the active directors in Finland. And we have 137 members, out of which 33 are women. But still, Lasse said that only 1/3 of the production funding goes to women-driven projects. So I think that we have, and also I know that in Finland, at the moment, directors, or not most, but at least half of the directors' students are female. so it has been acknowledged that there's a gap, and I also agree with what was said, Mari, before, that there is a problem with the second film, especially feature films made, and so this has been acknowledged here in Finland. And I hear Lasse saying that we need to encourage more women to apply. We need to get the best projects. So what could be the concrete actions that Finnish Film Foundation, or what you could give as an example, what the Finnish Film Foundation could do as an action plan in terms of getting those talented, great Finnish film directors in and presenting their projects?
That's a direct question. Do you have a microphone? No. What about mentoring program? Could there be a mentoring program like in Sweden? What measures are you planning some action on this field?
Yes, thank you. First time I have to say that I really would like to know what to do. But we are the mentoring program is one thing. It might be the one solution for that the new female talent from the school, that they are, as I said before, they are too shy to bring their ideas to us. And I must say, because my background is producing, I can say it for many years that it has been the same all the time, that those young male lions from the film school, they come to the production company and present their lousy ideas, no preparation, but they are so sure that they can make these films. And then there comes this one female director or filmmaker who has been thinking about her subject very thoroughly. Presentation is excellent, but they are so few, and these guys, they are so sure that they can do whatever without any thinking or preparation. But that is, of course, as I said, I have produced more women. That is the reason. But in Film Foundation, one thing is that because our consultants are, of course, very independent, and in their decisions what to support, or their suggestions to me what to support, and we are now. The consultants are now in their last year for the feature film, the two consultants, and we are now, right now, in the middle of the process to find the new ones. And I can assure you that when we talk about the work in Film Foundation for the next years, we take these things, we tell them very clearly that although they are, of course, the independent persons who make independent decisions, but we are the institution who must behave in a certain way. And of course, that is something that we have to very thoroughly also follow, that it happens.
There are more comments from the panel, but please, if you have suggestions what to do, how to make, dealing with this shyness issue or any other issue, so now it's your opportunity to speak to the key persons. So, Kristina.
Yes, I just wanted to start out with a shyness issue, which could be like it's part of the gender issue, because how do you know that this is the actual reason that they are shy? This is one of the assumptions that is connected to, it's not, the responsibility doesn't belong to the film business only, it belongs to society and how we foster girls and boys in preschool and everywhere, where the boys get to do everything and the girls maybe not. There are differences, as we all know, where men are judged on their potential, but women from their experience. So this shyness thing, I think, is one issue that you should start with to find out what is that? Why is it that? And not accept it as an answer, because that's not the answer. The answer is somewhere else. And it might not be something that you are able to attack all the way, but one suggestion is to, I'm not sure on how you work with the regions in Finland, but what we tried to do because of this shyness thing, we started the program where we actually got proper money from the government to put out in the regions, so they could, on that level, find the young women who wanted to make films and support them in presenting projects and doing it in the way so they could be listened to.
Silje and then Petri. I'm hesitant. No.
Well, we do exactly the same thing in Norway with talent schemes in the regions with very positive results, I must say. And also, Lasse, I'm so impressed by your personal results as a producer, because if actually you produced 78 films, out of which 40 were directed by women. So maybe you actually have more of the answers yourself, and maybe you can base some of your answers on experience and strategies you used as a producer, because I think that we have to do this in very close collaboration with the film business. And I think I might have 2 or 3 carrots for you and for you as filmmakers, how to be able to realize projects in longer formats and how to be chosen by producers, because I want to encourage producers to choose you as directors and filmmakers, you as women. That's one very important carrot. We introduced it in the market scheme with the 50,000 admissions bumper if you have a project with women involved. And also Norwegian producers know by now with the decision in Parliament last year that their chances will increase if they come to the commissioners with gender balanced projects. So times are quite good for female directors at the moment, because they get chosen to a higher extent by producers than they have been for the past few years in Norway, where we didn't have a focus on this politically. So that's a carrot. And also I'm very intrigued by the example of DOPs, female DOPs. I have a close friend who's a DOP. She was the first woman to ever shoot a feature-length film in Norway. Can you believe it? In 2010, and then she shot 2 films in a year. And she was pregnant, and the films got to open the Generation program in Berlinale, and the other one went to Sundance. So I guess the quality issue wasn't quite as pertinent as some male DOPs who have been the teachers in academies would claim earlier, that, well, you know, women, maybe they shouldn't be doing this. And the European prize for best photo went to a female Danish photographer this year, I believe, for Under the Sand. So things are changing quite rapidly also in that field. She wouldn't have been able, however, to shoot these 2 films if it wasn't for the fact that in Norway, of course, you can put babysitting costs into the production budget as part of the budget. That there's no question about that. Is not a problem. But I do understand very much the concerns here from the room when it comes to the fact that film production is not a very human-friendly activity. It's not very friendly to parents of small children, regardless whether they are men or women. And if there are some incentives to be made there as well, like covering babysitting costs, like looking at how you use overtime, then that would be a very positive side effect if it could both help female filmmakers and also maybe make it a bit more humanly possible to work with films for a long life, because that's another thing. We are age discriminatory as well in the film business.
Survival. Petri.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 male filmmakers last year in the Nordic Genre Boost workshops that couldn't participate because they had babies. So that's sometimes complicated. I can tell you. The carrots, I would say, some kind of a talent development scheme in Finland as well. I mean, Sweden has Moving Sweden. Norway has Nyväjer. Denmark has New Danish Screen, so Finland doesn't have anything right now, and I think that should be one of the things to look at. That's an advice. And I actually think that, I mean, putting some monies into the development, some kind of a focused program or system, be it gender balanced or non-gender balanced, I think that's helpful, because then you actually can focus on the things that you think are important as a fund. And I think that's the advice, actually.
Just quickly, because I think we all know this, the guy and the lady Lasse was describing, you know, just earlier. We know them so well, so I think this reach out to encourage is so important. But I also think, we also know that money talks. So that's also the philosophy we're working on now in Iceland, is to make it more feasible for producers to actually reach out to the women. It will make not only quality but also money-wise sense for them.
Okay, so what have we overlooked? Raya, are you gesticulating? Yes. Raya needs a mic.
So hi, I'm Raya Talvi. I'm the chair of Finnish Screenwriters Guild and also a member of the board of WIFT. I think this question of shyness is, I find it very wrong in a way, because it puts the blame on the filmmaker, on the shy female filmmaker, and she has to change in order for us to make things change. I think the problem is at least as much in the people who are listening to her. If the decision maker is not able to identify a good project because it's not presented in a certain way, I think the problem lies there. It's like going to buy a used car. If you buy a shitty car which is just sold to you by a very good salesman, and then you go to the next shop and there is a perfect car but the seller is not as good, I don't think the problem, I think the problem is yours in that situation. If you don't know how to read the presentation papers, if you don't know how to look at the picture as a whole, and you blame only the shyness of the director, I think that's not a good thing. And what we need is education for the decision makers as much as for the people who are presenting their projects.
Okay, Lasse wants to comment directly.
Yeah, I just want to comment about that shyness thing because I used the word. I meant it in that way that you can't evaluate an idea if it is not ever presented. I meant that when you have something to read or talk, then it's a different thing. But if you never ever even meet the people because they don't come to you, then that is the problem.
Okay, so evidently this is one point of that, and talent development scheme was something that Petri was suggesting. Are there other good suggestions or questions that have not been posed? Please.
Yeah, the mic holder wants to say something. We have in WIFT Finland, we have a mentor program right now for female filmmakers. I think it's 5, 6 mentors. Yes, 5. And could you from Sweden tell us some more about your mentor program you had?
Actually, I'm not very well educated on that because I didn't do this job when that program was going on. But of all those things we started out with the first action plan, that was, as I said before, the most difficult one because there was, from the 5, it was difficult to find 5 female directors who wanted to acknowledge themselves as in need of help. So it was difficult to find the 5 that was going to get the mentoring, and it was also difficult to find the 5 mentors. So it took a while to get it going, and actually I'm not the best person to answer a question about that program, but there is, if I'm not wrong, an evaluation, and if it's not published, you can contact me and I will see that you get it. But as I understood it, it was quite a bumpy road, actually. So maybe we could learn something from you if you do it in a successful way.
One more comment over there. Any other? Please raise your hands now. We are approaching the end of the discussion. I don't see any other hands, please.
Yes, Anna Maria again. One observation, correct me if I'm wrong, is that female directing persons are coming in with their own project that they started from the seed, like in a way auteur kind of thinking, but because I don't know if this is a truth or if I'm making an assumption, but because to female directors there's very few scripts being offered, because for some reason developed in hugely invested and developed scripts are done and offered to male directors. So I would see maybe there would be a potential for a carrot that to have a female director in nurturing a female director to offer a script that is being developed could be bonused or supported somehow. That what could one do to combine a script that has been developed to stimulate finding a female director for those projects. I know there's a lot of projects, I don't know, I'm not going to say any names or projects like that, but that have been developed and they are clearly story-wise would have been much better to have found a female director for that kind of story. But for some reason it has been, a male director has been chosen to do those stories. So there is a little possible idea or a suggestion.
But your market scheme.
Could I just add, because your analysis corresponds 100% with our statistics. This is exactly what the statistics that we started doing in 2007 up until 2010 showed us. For the past few years, we haven't counted in that way, but we will do it as a result of the report that we're publishing this year. And I think that we will have different findings, because I think that we have come to the point that you are describing, where female directors are offered more scripts by producers and by screenwriters. It's not perfect still, but I think you are completely right in what you are saying. And another thing that we observed in our statistics and in how we see that female directors act and work is that when you do write your own script and when you are an auteur, which is perfect for me, then you spend longer time on each film project. So when we have a very good year, like the year when we gave 65% of our means to projects with women involved, then the next year you will have a quite substantial drop, because the women who applied, they're busy. And they're going to be busy for the next 2 or 3 years. Whereas there are so many female so many male screenwriters and directors to choose from, that you will always have an abundance because there are some 70-80% of the applicants are men. So it's not in a perfect balance still, but you are completely right, and I think that your suggestion for finding solutions there is the right one, and that's what we did in the market scheme in Norway, for instance. There's now an incentive for producers to choose female directors and screenwriters, and we know that they are good enough.
Thank you. It's time to wrap up. And as a closing round, I know that I overlooked Petri's initial issue. You suggested the topic of content. I think I've crossed all the other. I made notes when you were making your initial cases. So I offer you just opportunity for final remarks, like, what do you take with you from this discussion, or what do you want to highlight, or what do you want to recommend? What's your advice to Finland, obviously in need of help here? What's your hottest tip, or what you just want to, something that has been omitted in this discussion thus far. So very quick closing comments, I ask, and Laufey, would you like to start?
Thank you. I think it's not only Finland that needs help. We all need help. But of course we appreciate Anna Saarinen's strength patience, and she's done a great thing for all of us, I think. But of course, you all also, none of us have reached the goal, but I think we're all going there. One thing that we did not mention is also age. We have sometimes women, I think, need more time. We have, in the past few years, we have given a major support to women on their first feature film around the age, they've been around the age of 60. I've heard some whispers in the corners, why on earth, this is not a career building, but, these women have been working in the field for a long time, and this is also, I think, we should maybe address in the next panel. But I think we can. This has been very interesting. I really want to know more about the talent development plans and go back and try and fund more of the carrots. So.
I don't think that I have anything more to add. I think that we will. Part of our money goes to film cultural supports, and we are talking with WIFT about supporting their ideas. But I think that's good. But then also I think that the institutes need to, somehow be involved. You can't leave this to an organization that is kind of gender specific in a way. I don't think it will be good in the end that it's only like some people outside the institutes who are thinking about this. So I think that the institutes must be more responsible, and I don't envy you, Lasse, because you have so much to do after your predecessor. So good luck.
Yes, we have come quite far, and I know sort of we're like the best in the classroom, but still, that's just right now, and we have a new action plan. We are working towards 50-50 by 2020, and I encourage all of you to join in this work. And it means we need, there will always be things to be done. We are now, as you mentioned, the bigger budgets, and we are going to make a study on bigger budgets and how come female directors don't get to do those films. And there will always be questions, so it's not to sit down and relax because we just this period reached 50-50 over time. Everything can change. You never know.
I think the talk of shyness reminded me in the beginning of studying and monitoring. We had a story saying that the female director, they only applied once, and if they were turned down, they will never show up again. They would go home and cry, instead of the men who would redesign little, come back and apply again. And that is a myth. I also think it's a myth that females should be more shy, and I go out of this with the thought that it's not about fixing the women, it's about fixing the systems.
That's one of the many good sayings coming out of Denmark these days. It's not about fixing the women, it's about fixing the system, which was also said somewhere here in the room. I think I made my point already, so I won't repeat it, but I may steal one of your points, Anu, instead, the one about the market demand, which has been pointed out by Johanna Koljonen, another really talented woman in the film industry who is responsible for the Nostradamus report. Because once we were saying that women can't be producers, and you shouldn't really have a female main character in your children or youth movie, because then boys can't identify. And what happened? A female producer presented Hunger Games. And in Hunger Games, you have female leads, and you have diversity in so many different ways. And it's a huge box office hit. And this is where we want to go. And this is what happened with the Norwegian TV series Skam, that I'm not sure, maybe some of you heard of it. Yeah, I'm so used to nowadays that whenever I'm on a panel, someone else will mention Skam, and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud. But this has been
We've heard
really
about it.
this has been groundwork being done in our public broadcasting for years when it comes to thinking about how to produce the best children and youth content. And people have been like, oh, you know, up there in the public broadcasting, they can do like female stuff, but it doesn't work. And then Scum came around, and I rest my case. So that would be my advice to Finland.
Well, about what the Finnish Film Foundation should or shall do, I must just say that because I'm still in the, let's say, in the middle of the learning process how to direct the Film Foundation. I definitely will learn from my colleagues and the other institutes how to work with these things. And as a public body, all the things we do are quite slow. All the changes happen slowly, and I'm now in many ways, but with also this thing I'm planning for the year 18, because our cultural minister has said to me that I can't do anything this year, but you have freedom to do changing for the next year and so on, and that is something I'm really now spending my nights after the work. And then one thing, there's one thing that we didn't talk about at all because of the time, of course, is that at least in Finland, I think that it is more difficult to get films by female filmmakers through in the television or with the distributors. In my past, I have had quite many cases with the films by female filmmakers which have been supported by the Film Foundation, but I have not gotten financing from the television or distributors.
Yes, absolutely. This is a really important issue. But the discussion goes on. Thank you, WIFT Finland. Thank you, WIFT Nordic. Thank you all eminent panelists for all the work you had done before, all the thinking you've done, and all the talking you've done today. So thank you very much. Thank you, audience. Have a good day.